If it's magic, then why can't it be everlasting? Like the sun that always shines, like the poet's endless rhyme, like the galaxies in time. If it's pleasing, then why can't it be never leaving? Like the day that never fails, like on seashores there are shells, like the time that always tells. It holds the key to every heart throughout the universe. It fills you up without a bite and quenches every thirst. So, if it's special, then with it, why aren't we as careful? Making sure we dress in style, posing pictures with a smile, keeping danger from a child. It holds the key to every heart throughout the universe. It fills you up without bite and quenches every thirst. So, if it's magic, why can't we make it everlasting? Like this lifetime of the sun, we will leave no heart undone. There's enough for everyone. Oh, 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 oh. Thank you.
Yay! That was Mr. James Higgins. What a beautiful voice. Beautiful. Hello, good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm Reverend Laura DiDonato. I'm glad I didn't forget my name. If this is your first time here at Hilltop, you are welcome here. All faiths are welcome. All shapes, all sizes, all ages. So now I'd like to move us into an opening prayer treatment. So let's get 2 feet on the ground. Take a nice deep breath in and a long breath out. Our Mother, Father, spiritual, divine absolute. We are one. All of us are one eternally. I speak my word for everyone here. I know without a doubt that I accept all of the gifts that life has to give. And I know that abundance and prosperity and positivity are part of my nature. I now let go of all past anxieties, problems, worries. I live in the moment. I have no fear of the future because I have free will. And I know and accept that I can create anything that I need or want for myself, for my family, for this spiritual community. On this beautiful St. Patty's Day, with the beautiful sunshine and the beautiful souls gathered here, I know that we are filled with love, with joy, with that light inside that vibrates and attracts all that is good. And all that is good flows to me effortlessly. I am grateful for this amazing, beautiful morning and the inspiring message of Reverend Sarah Adams and the beautiful talents of Mr. James Higgins. I release these truths into divine law, knowing it is so. And together we say with the puppy, and so it is. Perfect timing there. Okay. Our quote for today is from a Vietnamese Buddhist monk, Thich Nhat Hanh. Somebody said that already before I even started. Never forget the 3 powerful resources you always have available to you: love, prayer, and forgiveness. If you didn't know that already. And now let's get comfortable again. We're going to move into a 3-minute contemplation. And before we do that, we usually start with 3 deep breaths. So as you breathe in, you say, God is. And as you exhale, you say, I am. So let's do that now 3 times. God is. I am. God is. I am. God is. I am. And now return to the present moment, and together we say, and so it is. And now Mr. James Higgins, let's welcome him.
Was that your smile? Or was it sunlight through the trees? Was that your sigh? Or just a gentle breeze? Was that your voice? Or was it waves rolling on the seas? Is this a dream? Or can it be that I'm seeing for the very first time? The rustling leaves that bring your laughter all around, the dancing feet barely touching down. Oh, was that a sound, or was it nature's melody? Is this a dream? Or can it be that I'm seeing for the very first time? Yes, time is on our side, and a seed planted will grow. We reach out of everything and everyone. Was that a spark? Oh, was it thunder with this rain? Was that my heart? Oh, did you touch me once again? Was that mine? Or are you looking back at me? Is this a miracle? Can it be true that it's possible to make one heart up to two? It's not a dream. I do believe that I'm seeing for the very first. Seeing for the very first. Seeing for the very first time. The very first time, seeing for the very first time. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, everyone. All right, hello. Oops. I'm just going to be as awkward as possible, banging all these things around, so pardon me for a moment. Yay, thank you. Yay. Oh, and I'm going to, yours is still on. I'm going to turn it off. There we go. So, hello. Hi, I'm Rev Sarah, and it's so great to to be here. It's been a little minute since I've been back, so I'm happy to always join this lovely community. It's such a beautiful place. So thanks for having me. So today, this month, the theme is a new imagination. And I can't think of a better, more powerful spiritual practice than to be able to use, consciously use what we know we have, this connection, the fact that we, in our philosophy, believe that we know that we are one with this infinite consciousness, and that we actually can connect to that consciousness, resource it, let that infinite array of possibilities source our imagination whenever we may be faced with some sort of limiting circumstance. Like how great to be able to think and remember and tap into that there's this infinite possibility that we can be part of. And that could be a powerful thing, powerful resource for us. Ernest Holmes, who's the founder of Science of Mind and Spirit, talks about it like this. He says that today, this moment, your mind is an outlet through which this invisible but intelligent energy is operating. It's operating creatively through you at this very moment. And whether you know it or not, or believe it or not, today it is creating and recreating every cell in your body. It's molding and remolding every situation and condition in your environment. The life which you're surrounded by is the essence of all life, the substance of every form. And so he goes on to say, like, this intelligence, like this capital life intelligence, is also our intelligence. And it's the presence of our inspiration, guidance, and direction. So I think about that, like, what a great resource and possibility to tap into, to be open to for imagination, to be able to be sourced by that. Anything that we can do to expand our experience of good in this moment. I get this, when I think about it, and that's how we can be tapped into this, I get this image. There's an image from Hindu mythology of the god Indra, and Indra is on the top of his mountain, and he casts this net across the whole universe. And at the warp and weave, the node of every intersection of every part of the net is a jewel, and that jewel represents each individual consciousness, and it represents and reflects all around it. So it's like we're all interconnected to this wide, infinite weave and a net, an array of all these individual consciousnesses that are part of this one, and that we can really access and resource that. I grew up in this philosophy. I was raised in religious science. And I remember, I think in college, studying for an exam and really trying to put this into practice. And I would study the mind of my mind is one with the mind that created this test. My mind is one with the mind that wrote the theory of relativity. And that helped a little bit. I still had to actually study and actively remember that. But, it was something that I could imagine. There's this consciousness that could create all of this knowledge. Surely I could imagine that I could be part of that same consciousness, So the idea of in quantum physics, there's all these infinite possibilities, and our consciousness gets to collapse them into a particular experience in this time and space. So when I think about imagination, that's where I want to go to. That's the foundation of where imagination comes from. So whenever we're faced with a moment where we can expand our imagination, we have to remember that and return to that. Because sometimes we can be limited and challenged and getting caught up in a situation. It may be hard to remember that we have that as an access, as a possibility. I can remember I was a principal. Now I'm kind of in our district office overseeing lots of principals. But I can remember having a situation at school with this child that was very challenging, and it was exhausting every day. And I just felt like at the end of my rope. And one morning I was like, I don't know if I can face another day running around with this kid. I mean, it was just so difficult every day with his extreme behaviors. And then I had the thought, I don't have to there could be something more than this. I could open up to a different possibility that I don't know about, but maybe could come through me. Oh, I could access this infinite array of possibilities. So I think that's where we source ourselves when we think about a new imagination. So let's look at more the specifics of that. How can we practically on a daily basis tap into this divinely imbued capacity for imagination? I was recently listening to a podcast. I listen to a lot of them, and this is the Sounds True podcast. And she was interviewing a guy who researched and wrote this book about open minds and all the different aspects of having an open or closed mind. And so he talked, his name was Dr. Nate Klemp. The book is called Open, if you care to look at it. But he talked about having this capacities that we have as humans, that we have meta-awareness and metacognition, that metacognition, we know what we know, or we know what we don't know, and meta-awareness, that we can be aware and notice ourselves, notice what we're having, what reactions we're having. So that's actually encouraging because we can notice when we've closed our mind. We can notice when we've gone down a rabbit hole and kind of shut off to what imagination is possible. So he talked about two aspects of having an open mind and cultivating that. The first was focus, and that we tend to focus and zoom in on something we get fixated on certain things. And I don't know about you, but I notice something that's wrong and I can focus and fixate on that. And it really narrows my field of vision. I was talking to my son the other day, and he's supervising a crew at his workplace now, and he's fixated or focused on this one problem person that he's supervising. And I was remembering and I was telling him, every place I've worked, I've always felt like there was one problem, that one person that was difficult, or who got in the way, or who was toxic, or just made it much more difficult at that job, whatever work we were doing. And my focus always would get narrow on that one problem or that one thing. In fact, I can think I bet if I say this one name to him, he would remember from 20 years ago, because I complained about this person so much. So I don't know if you've ever had that experience where you just can focus on something, the problem, right? And I really could only see that particular issue. I was reading Richard Rohr, who's a Franciscan monk and teacher and writer. He talks about this, and he says that only people who have done their inner work can see beyond their own biases to something transcendent, something that's crossed the boundaries of culture and individual experience. People with a distorted image of self and world and God will be largely incapable of experiencing what's really real in the world. They see things through a narrow keyhole. And he just goes on to say, most of us do not see things as they are. We see things how we are. And I think that's the point. So that first part of maintaining an open mind and having the capacity to imagine is to really notice that we may be zoomed in so much that we're focused on one thing and really can't see the much larger, bigger picture around it. And the second aspect of maintaining openness is consciously shifting from avoidance to approaching. And I think that's where we kind of get stuck, is there are so many things that can be uncomfortable, and it can be so easy to avoid and not really want to be present to that. He mentioned how all the different technology we have, all the artificial intelligence, all the algorithms of social media, we may be encountering something that's uncomfortable, and there's this handy dandy device in our pocket that can instantly take us down the rabbit hole and away from whatever was causing us discomfort, right? It's designed to actually hijack our attention and keep us there. It'll keep feeding us all the things that we want to see. I always get ads for things that I've been talking about mysteriously show up on my feed. And isn't that terrible? It's always, so it's designed to grab our attention. So not only are we internally evolved to want to focus on, to avoid things that are uncomfortable, but we have this thing that can take all of our attention away too and make it go away in an instant. So I think that's where we have to be aware of that. He referenced a study that I thought was really fascinating and disturbing. It was at University of Virginia, and they had people sit in a room for 15 minutes and it took away their phones and their backpacks and all their devices, and had to just sit. And they asked them afterwards, how was that for you? And almost all of them said, that was extremely uncomfortable. They could not sit for 15 minutes. And then they said, okay, let's tweak the experiment. And they had them go back in the room, and they had strapped a device to their ankle and gave them a little something, and it was like an electrode, and they gave them a little thing that they could shock themselves if they wanted to, right? And they gave them the 15 minutes again with no other interactions. And people would rather shock themselves than sit for 15 minutes with themselves. Like it was so uncomfortable just to be present to what was in their mind. I thought that was really interesting and disturbing. So, so I think about that, how can we, there's so much that grabs our attention, and there is so much that's uncomfortable in the world right now, and we can just get besieged with all of the images and things. So it takes conscious intention to to zoom out our focus, so we're not just narrowly focused on that one thing that's being fed to us, or whatever negative news or negative thing that's grabbing our attention. And we have to actually consciously be able to sit with things that are uncomfortable and really allow space for that, and give ourselves some moment to imagine that there could be something that could come out of the discomfort. I think that constraint and really can lead to creativity. Just like there's that saying that necessity is the mother of invention. I think boredom can be the mother of invention too. Again, when I was a principal at a previous school, at a Waldorf school, we were intentionally screen-free. The kids were not allowed to have phones or technology or anything. And that's a difficult thing in this time and age, but parents committed to that. And I remember this parent telling me that she had to take her kids they had to go to an appointment or whatever, and the kids had to wait for her. And of course, they didn't have a phone to distract themselves. All they had was their little lunch basket. But in their lunch basket, when she came out at the end to see, she found them that they had found like their little Baby Bell cheeses. Do you know their little discs of cheese? Well, they're covered in wax. So the kids took the wax from the Baby Bells and created this vast array of characters to create this whole story, this whole imagination from that. But that wouldn't have happened if they had nothing to do and had to kind of sit there and look and deal with just look and see whatever they had before them that they could imagine from that. So I think that if we could so that's part of the aspect of being open for imagination, is if we can sit with ourselves and allow ourselves to be uncomfortable or maybe bored for not even 15 minutes, that, there might be something that could come out of that. We could have an opening to something that we could imagine. But we have to really intentionally give ourselves space for that. To notice when we've been closed, to notice that maybe we've been caught up in a particular situation that we continue to perseverate on, or to notice that we're avoiding and shutting down, and maybe we're allowing ourselves to be sucked into whatever distractions are around us all the time. So that leads us to that practice, because I think that it's really like a neural pathway. The more we can practice being open, the more that we can notice ourselves and allow ourselves to have some discomfort, or maybe even remember where we had imagined or created something before out of nothing. That can help us kind of wear in a new groove of being open and available to this infinite idea, this infinite expansive possibility that wants to come and be through us. So that leads me to, so those are, I think, the two practices that will help us have this new imagination. So then with that, it's like, what can we do? What can we imagine for ourselves? Can we know that there is something in the midst of whatever our individual situation is, that can we imagine that there might be something for our good that's coming through that situation? If we're in a health challenge or a personal life challenge, is there something that, can we imagine that it's something for our good? Or even more, I think is important, is can we imagine what it would feel like to transcend this experience? Can we imagine what it would feel like to have grown and evolved into a greater place of peace, a greater place of freedom through this situation? I can think of time. In fact, I was talking with a friend the other day that I've known we both know each other since we're like 12 or 13. And I was thinking, like, I don't think I ever would have known I would be here now, like, whatever, 40-something years later. But I knew at some point, I imagined, what would it feel like to feel joyful in my work, or to feel like I was happy in my life, or that I had a fulfilling relationship or connections with friends. I was thinking, like, even 10 years ago or a little bit more, I just recently passed a 10-year anniversary of going through a divorce that was really painful and difficult. And then maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I went through a painful parting of a previous school that I worked at. And I remember in those moments, like it was really painful. And certainly there were times that it needed to be, set aside. And the social media scrolling was helpful to distract from some of that. But at some point, I had a glimmer that I didn't know how I would get through this or what would be on the other side. And I hadn't yet met the Sarah that could emerge through this. But I could imagine what I would at some point feel grateful for the experience. I could imagine that at some point I might feel more free, or I might feel more empowered, or I might feel more peaceful. So that's my invitation for you for this new imagination. Can you imagine something for yourself? Like if there is a particular challenge or limitation that you're facing, I think even more important than imagining what the solution is imagining and embodying what the felt experience is, like the experience of more freedom or the experience of health or wholeness or love and connection, peace, power, whatever that is. Like what, if you can imagine and embody that, I think that's what creates a new space for some infinite possibility to come and make itself manifest right where you are. I think that was the key of what Ernest Holmes was talking about. He talks about embodiment like 90 something times in the Science of Mind textbook. Like embodiment is the key. So imagining that allows us to get pulled forward into that new possibility. So that's part of what I think the new imagination is. Where can we go with that? And then the other part about the new imagination is that I think it's important for us in this work and this time that we're born into. We not only imagine a new possibility, a new imagination for ourselves, but for each other. Because again, like this Dr. Klemp was talking about in his book, like there's so much polarization. There's so much where we close down and just won't consider anything of the other side. And I think especially during this like ramp up to elections and this season of political divisiveness, it can be really easy to just shut out the other side. And that, again, like Dr. Guy was talking about last week with talking about Robert McNamara and the war, the Vietnam War, and saying that was a failure of imagination. Like, again, it's easier than sitting with the discomfort face to face with someone. It's easier to push away. It's easier to slide into war and conflict. It's much more difficult to sit with a complex problem and to chew on it and to try to find all the different solutions that could be possible. And it's more difficult to maybe see beyond the appearance of the person into like the complexity that's behind them. I had this situation in school actually just recently where, so one of the things that I oversee is like the discipline for all the different campuses and all the different sites. And so there was a situation, I was talking with the site leadership, and there was a young man, African-American, who showed up to school and was high as a kite, like super mentally altered. And they had to take action about that. And in searching his stuff for drugs, they also found a knife. So then on the surface of it, you have a kid who's, do substance abuse, a kid with a weapon. Like there are certain preconceived notions about how to deal with that. And that includes like, kicking the kid out, like expelling, like just, and that the site felt very impacted and angry and wanting to just get rid of this kid. And I said, can we imagine that there might be something more to this situation than the surface? Can we imagine that we're focused in on this one particular situation. We're focused in on the impact that it had on you and the site. Can we just step back and allow a greater imagination for this particular situation? And so when we did, and talking to the student and his family, like he's struggling with ADHD and he's struggling with a lot of anxiety. They live in a neighborhood that's not in our community. It's in another county north of here. And every day he deals with, threats from the neighborhood. He's been trying to avoid getting jumped into a gang since middle school. And so he carries a knife because he feels unsafe and he has to walk to school. He's using marijuana because he's feeling so much anxiety and he's trying to self-medicate for his ADHD. So that opened up a whole other possibility, like, wow, could we address those issues? Wow, and then maybe we could have a solution on that level of feeling safe on your way to school and feeling supported at school and finding coping mechanisms marijuana may not be the best coping mechanism for a young man trying to graduate and get out of school. So that was the point. Like, can we imagine in the moment, if we can step back from these age-old, there's age-old reactions that have been with humans for millennia, like the fight, flight, or freeze. Like that is an old song we've been singing for thousands of years. And whenever we encounter things that are different or other, or that elicit fear or elicit constriction or anger, our reaction is to fight, to blame, or to freeze, to cast out, or to like just shut down and ignore. And I think this is our invitation, this new imagination. Like, can we imagine something beyond that? Can we imagine that we have the capacity to notice ourselves, to use our metacognition and awareness, to pause, to reflect, to open up to something greater than what we see in the moment. And I think that's the most powerful, impactful gift that we have in Science of Mind, that we can actually be these spiritual, mature beings, that we can hold space for both the human, we can give space for what's hard and scary. Like, I don't want a kid with a knife in front of me, that feels scary. But can I also like hold a space for something bigger than that at the same time? Can I encounter what's difficult and to the most degree possible? Like we can dive into what's hard, into the depth of the darkness of it. But in that depth of holding space for that, we open up for this light, for the possibility of imagination, for the possibility of something more than what we can see in the moment. And I think that's like the magic and the gift that's so powerful of our teaching. So that's what I think the inspiration is for the new imagination. I think that's where we can stand and hold space and really create change in ourselves and for each other. So that's my invitation for us today. So I'm going to ask us to, we'll close our eyes and we'll do a little imagination ourselves, and we'll close out this time. So I'm going to ask you to breathe and imagine that there might be a challenge for you, that for yourself or for another. And to just breathe in a moment, know and see, maybe you can see right into the moment of what that is, or into the circumstance, that you can be present to what's difficult or uncomfortable about it. And breathe in with that. And then can you imagine yourself zooming out a little bit, just zooming out, giving it some space. Imagine that there's a greater possibility there. Maybe you can even imagine what it feels like to have a solution to whatever the challenge is. Can you imagine that there's an embodiment of a feeling of connection, a feeling of peace? Maybe it's a feeling of freedom. What does that feel like? Or maybe it's a feeling of abundance, of having enough, having so much that it overflows into a greater generosity for others. Maybe it's a feeling of safety, joyful expression. Maybe it's wisdom. So I'm asking you to hold that, embody that for a moment. Just savor that feeling. Whatever that is, that's a greater experience than maybe what you see in the moment. And so as you savor that, I'll close this out with a prayer. And so I know that there is a divine, infinite, loving presence, this divine intelligence that expands across the universe. It is the stuff and substance of our being. And so I know that divine intelligence, that loving space is right where we are, because it is all that there is. And so I know that divine intelligence is speaking through each of us in our unique experiences, that it is opening up and cultivating through us a new imagination, a new space, a new idea, a new experience of something greater and grander and more beautiful than we have ever experienced. And so I know that possibility is here now, manifests in each of us in its own unique way. And so I'm so grateful to know this. I'm so grateful to know this in community, to have that knowledge and that wisdom expanded and compounded on with each other as we behold it in ourselves and each other. and it expands and ripples out throughout this community and throughout the world. I say yes to that. I say thank you. And so it is.
In this moment, in this place, I remember who that I am, letting fear and worry fall away from me. I open my eyes and I see there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets me free. There is only love. When I lose myself, when I feel that I've lost my way, when I go inside and quiet my mind, I can hear Spirit gently say, there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals me, love that sets me so free. There is only love. In this moment, in this place, I remember who that I am, letting fear and worry fall away from me. I open my eyes and I see there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals me, love that sets me so free. There is only love. There is only love. There is only love. Love that heals me, love that sets me so free. There is only love. There is only
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. And what an amazing message from Reverend Sarah Adams. Thank you for that. Okay. I have some special thank yous to all the people that set up our beautiful congregation this morning, this beautiful building, the snacks, the greeting at the door. Thank you. And Steve, of course, and Lee at the sound. Thank you so much. There's so many people to thank, almost everybody in here. All right. Also, I'd like to announce how fabulous the St. Patty's Day dinner was yesterday. Yay! We'd like to thank Lee, Mike, Ann, Kurt. You can give yourself a hand. Deanna, Andrea, Steve, and of course, the fabulous chef, Reverend Dr. Guy. And last but not least, Charla. She was also a big part of it. Yay! Not to miss next year's St. Patty's Day dinner. Okay, I'm going to give you a special treat. Anyone that's not wearing green this morning, yes, thank you so much. Oh, heavenly bread, heavenly. So see me during our snack time and I'll give you something green so you don't get pinched, unless you like getting pinched. I grew up thinking every man in Italy pinched the ladies, right? And I thought, oh, how exciting. I told my daughter if she got straight A's in high school, I'd take her to Italy. She's half Italian, and I'd take her to Italy. Well, sure enough, she got straight A's, magna cum laude, and I said, we're going. I already had the tickets. So we got there, and I kept waiting to get pinched. Oh, darn. So we were waiting in the subway, something new to us West Coasters. And my daughter had this little T-shirt on that said pink, from Victoria's Secret. And so we're waiting for the subway. We're both faced this way. I turn around, and there's 4 handsome college boys. She's 18. College boys right behind us. All their haircuts the same. Nice, clean clothes. Just handsome. My cougar set in real hard. So they're coming towards us, and they walk past us and through us, and they whisper, pink. I went, that was the pinch. They were whispering in my daughter's ear, but I imagine it was mine. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to share that. Okay, so an Irish blessing. I wish I could do it in the accent, but may you have love that never ends, lots of money and lots of friends. Health be yours, whatever you do, and may God send many blessings to you. Yay! Okay, let's take our tithing and place it on our hearts. This is our time of giving and receiving through our hearts and minds. As we hold our tithing on our hearts, we know that as we join the circle of abundance, constantly giving and receiving, and receiving more with unexpected income. We know that as we give to this congregation through our time, talents, tithing, and treasure, we are the spiritual community that shines in this world. We are the hearts. We are the love. And we know that money has a vibration. It's just a piece of paper with love on it, but it's a vibration. So when we give with the vibration of love, which leaves us open for receiving. And I say these words as I release into the law of mind. Together we say, and so it is. Part of being a minister and practitioner is prayer treatment. We love it. We live by it. So all the things that we learn through our spiritual college and our spiritual training comes with the fact of moving from hoping to faith to knowing and living those truths 24 hours a day. So what's it like to live in prayer 24 hours a day? Loving yourself. And so we would like to give you some love. All the practitioners here today, just stand up. Andrea and myself and Reverend Sarah Adams, you can tap us on the shoulder and I will offer a prayer circle, prayer healing in the Emerson room next to the kitchen right after we have a little something to eat. And now I'd like to turn it over to Reverend Sarah Adams for our benediction.
All right, so let's just close our eyes and breathe in all the goodness from this morning, from this experience of being in community together, knowing that there's a divine idea expressing through each of us here and now, in ourselves and in each other collectively as this community. And so I know and affirm that as we leave today, we carry with us this inspiration, the awareness, the expanded idea that God is having through us into a new imagination, a new possibility for whatever we encounter. And so I know that's a powerful place to be, and we step forward with that. I'm so grateful to know that. And I say yes, and so it is. And Mr. James Higgins will close us out.
Right here on earth, with no hell below us, only sky above us. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine peaceful countries. It isn't hard to do. nothing to kill or die for. Free to worship as you choose. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us, and the world will live as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you care. No greed or hunger. A brotherhood of men. Imagine all the people sharing all the way. You may say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. But I hope someday you will join us, and the world will live as one. Thank you.